It took Jeff Benedict 3 years to tell the story of LeBron James with hundreds of interviews and many hours of video as source material. He attempts to give a full picture of an athlete who was world famous when he was still a high school player in Ohio. His biography, LeBron, touches on everything from James' business successes, social justice issues, and of course, basketball. Jeff Benedict joins us live this morning to tell us a little bit more. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, one thing right off the bat that I think you talk about in the book that I don't know that I really was all that familiar with myself is LeBron's childhood. And he didn't have a rough go. And there was something that you mentioned that he had actually been placed with another family for a little bit. Can you talk about that and about his younger days?
Yeah, I think that LeBron's origin story explains a lot about the way he's played as a basketball player and conducted himself as a professional athlete. I liken it to a Charles Dickens novel. I mean, there was a tremendous amount of poverty. He didn't have a father in his life. His mother raised him, but there was a point in time after fourth grade where his mother placed him in the care of another family in Akron, the Walker family. It was a turning point in LeBron's life. It's the first time that anyone had put a basketball in LeBron's hand, and Mr. Walker did that. And it's interesting, when LeBron broke the scoring record in Los Angeles earlier this spring, Frankie Walker was one of the people who was in attendance in Los Angeles that night. So LeBron has kept strong ties to the people in the Akron community who were instrumental in his early life.
Yeah, I mean, he still does have a pretty tight-knit group of people that were friends of his in high schools. It's the same guys that he's had for what seems like forever. I know you didn't interview him for the book. I wonder, is it, does that group of people that he has around him, are those guys that insulate him? Is LeBron an accessible guy? What kind of dynamic is that?
I mean, look, when you achieve the level of fame that LeBron has, and his family is in the limelight, you have to have some protection and insulation around you, and LeBron's done that. But I think the more interesting thing here is that he actually has the same inner circle around him now that he formed when he was coming out of high school. I think that's one of LeBron's greatest qualities, is his loyalty and his decision making when it comes to choosing the people he's going to surround himself with.
Can you talk a little bit about just the philanthropic side of him? This is a guy who's taken a lot of stands with social justice and politics and has been a lightning rod for people on one side or the other. But I think what gets lost in a lot of that is how much he has done in his communities.
You're right, and it's a good point, because most athletes in LeBron's category don't step out as much as he has. He's been very active in social justice, in securing voting rights for minorities. He built a school in Akron called the I Promise School, which serves underprivileged children. His foundation that he formed with his wife has been active now for almost 2 decades. LeBron's actually been really, really involved in things that most athletes stay away from, because sometimes those things can be controversial, but LeBron's never been too concerned about that. I think that that's going to be one of the more lasting aspects of his legacy.
All right. The biography is called LeBron. You can find more information at jeffbenedict.com or follow him on social media. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck with the book.
Thank you.